So I think a lot of what we do in life are driven by fear, not all of it, but especially with all the news headlines that are floating around nowadays. It's really hard for us not to tune into the aspect of fear and ask ourselves, what do you fear the most in life? And recently I started kind of writing about this question, thinking about this question, and I eventually landed on perhaps my modus operandi, or perhaps the thing that drives everything that I'm working on, from my newsletter to this YouTube channel to my continual commitment in self-education. And I eventually landed on this. My worst fear in life is somehow to wake up one morning and finding the world small and uninspired. So let me explain that real quick. When you were like 14, 15, and first train that you take into a major city, it's like the most fascinating thing ever. You look at all the buildings, you're fascinated by everything. Or first time when you're moving out, even going to IKEA was the most interesting thing. And even like buying a new book or a genre that you haven't explored, that felt like the most exciting thing ever. And then as you race towards your kind of, mid-20s, late 20s, and you start to get the sense of like a lot of things around you are starting to repeat. You see the same friends, you take the same classes, and you work the same jobs. And one day, you might just wake up thinking that that's all your life is. And I think that's what's been driving me to do the work that I do, also to encourage you guys to one day to never fall into that trap. And in fact, a lot of our audience members skew on the older side. I routinely get emails from like 40, 50, 60-year-olds telling me, this is the missing thing from most of our lives. The world shrinks when we stop being curious, and a world literally shrinks down into your boxed apartment, your boxed car, your boxed lunch. So one day, everything will start to look gray. And when you read something in the news that gets your anxiety levels up, that's where you stay. You don't even have the willpower, the capacity to go look beyond the headlines, to do some extra research, to really understand what's going on in the world. And I think that right there is what drives me to do everything I do on this channel. But here's the problem though. It looks as if every aspect of our lives, or every aspect of society, every aspect of what we do every day, they're all set up to make us not pursue this curiosity. You have distractions. You have things that you can look at when you start to sense that, hey, this headline's making me anxious because I'm not understanding another part of this picture. There are very precise mechanisms set up right now by social media companies, YouTube included, Instagram, and all the weird shit that's going on in AI right now, designed to distract you away from ever expanding your world ever again. The ideal social media client or the user is someone who has stopped expanding their world so they would believe whatever product they're selling and believe whatever new thing that just came out, and to attempt to even set up a self-education routine or a self-education goal, or to set up a number of books that you want to read this year. It just feels completely impossible. If it makes you feel any better, yes, everything that you learn from me, from my newsletter, from other creators who are also in this humanities or self-education space, we are fighting the ultimate uphill battle. We're trying to rescue a resource that defined most human innovations, which is curiosity, which is actually trying to go beyond ready-made answers to say, okay, how does this actually work? And in order to actualize that curiosity, to actually not just say, oh, I'm a curious person, is actually to do the dirty work of reading more, the dirty work of chasing down the sources from a news article, or the dirty work of looking beyond the headlines and the news and whatever, and to actually look at the history, or to look at what gave rise to these series of events. And that is what we're slowly starting to lose, because most of our time is being taken up by really, really powerful forces of distractions. And yes, the end goal is to confine you into a box where you would just consume products from these distractions, where you would give them endless money and your attention. So today, I really want to take this fear and tackle it head on by making a core distinction that you're going to need, which is learning goals, which doesn't really work in this kind of hyper-distracted economy, versus learning systems, which is a more sustainable way to integrate learning as a permanent part of your continued education, as a permanent part of your lifestyle even. And for that to happen, I have to borrow an analogy from a recent obsession, which is martial arts. Excuse me as I'm trying to record a video and tie this belt at the same time. So if you follow me on Instagram, you should also know that recently I started practicing a lot of karate. And in fact, I'm going up for a belt testing pretty soon. And over the past like 8 months of getting to know the style of karate that I'm practicing now, which is the Goju-ryu style, I think I found a beautiful parallel to the style of karate to how we educate ourselves in our lives in terms of systems versus goals. So for context, the Goju-ryu system originated in Okinawa, the birthplace of karate. Jesse and Camp, if you're watching this video, please collab. And in Japanese, go and ju means hard and soft. So this is a style that incorporates hard techniques and soft techniques. So the hard techniques are pretty intuitive. This is your linear punch, and this is your your linear kicks. Whereas the soft techniques incorporate these really weird circular movements that look a little bit useless in actual combat, but if you practice the form, which is the kata, on an opponent, it immediately becomes obvious what these two techniques are trying to do. For example, the hard techniques, they start from this place, and as you extend your fist outward, it's a linear transfer of energy, right? There's a starting place, there's a stopping place, but typically what ends up happening is that energy just dissipates. You punch the other person gets hurt, and you probably get your knuckles hurt if you're not conditioned. So there's a hard start and there's a hard end. Whereas more circular movements, they actually redistribute energy from your opponent so you can turn it into a throw, or you can turn it into a counterattack. In other words, you're taking pre-existing energy, in this case is from your opponent, and redistributing it for your own benefit. So to bring this discussion back to our lifelong learning journeys, basically all your reading goals, the really bombastic ones, the one BookTube started promoting heavily, from a few years ago, which is like, you need to read 60 books. I've read 100 books this year. Those are hard techniques. They're very good for solving a specific need that you have. For example, you really have to get 3 books done this weekend because you're going to get tested on it 2 weeks later. But the problem with these hard goals with solid starts and finishes is that once the goal is done, you don't really have anywhere else for that energy to go. It dissipates. Sometimes this dissipation leaves you exhausted. You never ever want to read a book ever again after you complete a reading challenge. Whereas a more circular technique or a softer technique, it's all about redistributing energy, right? So you have 24 hours in a day, and a learning system wants you to take the pre-existing energy that you already have, that you would have misplaced somewhere else, into reading. So this looks very much like taking a habit that you already have in your life and then just adding an extra dimension of reading for 30 minutes when I'm having my morning coffee. And what this does is that it ensures that you'll never ever burn out. This is a very sustainable system focused on the long term. It's all about redistributing pre-existing energy into something that you can use to benefit yourself. And I really think that the bigger point with our journey of lifelong learning and learning how to read, learning how to engage with different forms of reading, like how to read history, philosophy, literature, whatever you want to come up with, is to develop this fail-safe to prevent your world from becoming too small. Coming back to the fear, my worst fear in life is to get trapped in a world that's increasingly becoming more and more myopic and small. The end goal is to allocate these repeatable and sustainable chunks of your life where you will continue to devote yourself to your continued education, because the people who never stop growing have better systems. It's not necessarily a discipline thing. They have learned to redirect their energy into that bucket to make it a sustainable and long-term thing. And if you're into that idea, I recently ran a live workshop, which is now taped, and you can go access it from amugofinsights.org. And by the way, Mug of Insights, that's my newsletter. I source a lot of my ideas for these videos from my newsletter, and basically every Saturday you get a free newsletter sent to your inbox. And alongside written articles, we also have workshops that work on specific reading skills, specific self-education skills. That's going to take you from someone who's struggling with comprehending a lot of stuff that you're reading to someone who's able to confidently engage with all of it, and in turn make your world bigger and to make your self-education journey expand into the rest of your life. And in this recent workshop, we address precisely this idea of how to create a lean TBR. So not a bloated TBR where you feel overwhelmed, but a lean TBR that targets your specific self-education needs, that's going to be more sustainable and more systemic. So anyway, that's all I have for this week. A little bit of a motivation boost for your self-education journey and how to set up the right systems to do so. And we will be back next week with another intriguing topic. Robin Walden here. Take care. I'll see you next week.